as we enter this next critical phase of this exhausting marathon that is and has been the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What I find so frustrating from members of the government is they use these buzzwords like secured access, should be arriving, robust portfolio, work together. That's what we get for answers. It's not complicated. Don't wrap yourself in the approval process. If the Moderna vaccine is approved on this date, we will have X number delivered by this date. These are not complicated questions. Their refusal to answer them tells us they don't have a plan. Why can't they answer that simple question? When this vaccine's approved, it will be rolled out on this date with this many doses. It's not complicated.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I take issue with the word buzzwords. What I outlined in my speech were numerous facts and statistics of what our government has procured for Canadians. I would also indicate that, once again, he is accusing the government of saying that the vaccines should be arriving in the first quarter of 2021, something that we have repeated often, whereas, as I explained, it is our independent researchers that will decide on when the vaccine is ready and when it will be safe for Canadians to receive it.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The honourable member for Esquimalt-Saanich-Soo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I listened with interest to the member's speech, and there's much to agree with in that speech. But when she starts to say that the goal of opposition members is to interfere with science, she's way off the mark. What we're talking about is not interfering with science. We're talking about the government's decisions and its decision-making process to get the vaccines on order and to get a distribution system in place. And when I tell people in my riding that we're likely looking at only having 8% of Canadians vaccinated by April, they say simply, that's not good enough.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague for his question. I do understand that Canadians would like the certainty of knowing how many Canadians will be vaccinated and exactly the date of that they will have access to that vaccine. It is not something that we can predict at the moment when our scientists are still reviewing vaccine candidates, a number of them. If there are several vaccines that are approved at the same time, perhaps more Canadians will be able to have access sooner. It is not possible for us to give a number of Canadians or a date because we have so many different options on the table at the moment that are undergoing investigation.
Comments? The honourable member for Vancouver East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for her comments. The briefing that was provided to MPs from officials indicated that the prioritization of the vaccine would go to individuals who are advanced age, healthcare workers, first responders, and Indigenous peoples. Now, based on the numbers that we know so far, and that is having 3 million vaccines available, is not even going to cover seniors, for example, is not going to cover the number of people that we need. So from my perspective, I'll tell you, in Vancouver East, in my community, we have very many vulnerable people and people who are frontline workers for service agencies. They're not part of this bracket. So I'd like to ask the member, should frontline workers also be included in terms of prioritization?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is the role of the federal government to procure vaccines and obviously the role of Health Canada, which is a federal agency, to be reviewing them. But it is also my understanding that provinces will play a very important role in deciding who and how the rollout will be done. And so I appreciate my members'